Welcome back to another episode of That Backyard Property Pod. Here today for another mini episode, and today we are tackling all things bridging finance. Whew, what a dry topic. But let's try and make this a little bit exciting, because the reality of bridging finance is it is a tool to let you move from one property to your next property. This is so important for anyone upgrading. Anyone that has kids that doesn't want to disrupt their kids' schooling or disrupt their kids' lives, this is important. And it's also incredibly important for anyone downsizing. Mums and dads, grandmas and grandpas, this is ideal for them. So if you are chatting with them over this festive period, let them know that you are an expert in bridging and to send this straight through to them. Before we tackle everything bridging, jump in. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, hit 5 stars, because I reckon it's probably worth it. If you're on YouTube, nice to see you. Hit that subscribe button, because the community is growing and it continues to do so. And the more people we have on board, the better this production can be. All right, bridging. What is it? In essence, bridging finance is being able to live in your current property with a debt, or it might be unencumbered, but with a debt, and buy your next property before you sell this one. This is incredibly important when the market is strong, as it is in a lot of capital cities at the moment. Now, if you are in your property and you're ready to buy this next one, most sellers or real estate agents will not accept a subject to sale as part of an offer condition. So what are you supposed to do if you don't have the borrowing capacity to hold 2 properties? Well, bridging is what is possible. Fortunately, some of the banks are really good at this. Commonwealth Bank, Westpac. Now, Athena is a really strong player in this, because they've seen a niche in the market and they have produced an awesome product that is helping brokers deliver this service. So bridging, you've got your property, you find the next one you are wanting to move into, because the last thing you want to do is sell your existing home wanting to upgrade or downsize, and you haven't found the next property. All of a sudden you sell this one, there's pressure to buy the next one or rent another property, and you need to just accept what you can get. So bridging, you've got your property here, there's an existing debt on this property, and then you go ahead and buy this property subject to finance, ideally. If you're in Sydney or Melbourne, or you purchased at an auction, this is a little bit more difficult and we need a fully assessed pre-approval. So if we can't do subject to finance, at least have the assessed pre-approval. So you've purchased this new property, and the settlement is going to be within generally 30 to 60 days of buying the home. Now, you've secured this home. You have the ability to go ahead and sell your home in that period of time. Now, some people, especially the ones with kids like myself, cleaning your house and making it ready for the next buyer is very difficult. So some people just wait until they've moved into the new home and then they sell their existing property. This is a fantastic way of having a crossover of 2 properties, so you aren't homeless. You can move in, get settled, and then go ahead and sell. Even stage your property depending on what your agent has advised. This is a much less stressful position to be in. The mechanics. All right, let's look at the loan mechanics. So you've got an existing loan here on your new property, and you're going to have a new debt on the new property. We have 2 clear terminologies. We have peak debt. So the peak debt is your existing property and the loan, and your new loan in its combined state, including any costs. So stamp duty, conveyancing, settlement agent fees, minus anything you contribute out of your own savings. We're not using equity here. We are purely using cash savings if you want to do that. But in some cases, if the loan amount in comparison to the value of your home is a big enough gap, you won't need to put in any cash. So remember, peak debt, existing property, new property, both those loans. Now, the mechanics. You go ahead and move into this new property, and you sell your existing property. The sale proceeds pay down the previous debt and pay down the bridging portion that was needed to secure the new home. Then we are left with end debt. The end debt is the loan that you are going to have moving forward. That's what your repayments will be on. And that's what we need to focus on when it comes to the longevity of this loan and how quickly we can actually pay it off. Let's recap. You've got your existing debt, new debt, combined is the peak debt. Once you sell your existing home, you clear that loan, you clear the bridging portion up here, and you're left with your end debt. Now, a lot of the banks are doing the servicing, so your borrowing capacity based on the end debt. So when we're looking at this in its entirety, we want to make sure the valuations across both properties are high enough. So we do not want the two loans, so the peak debt, to be more than 80% of the value of the two properties. So there's a fair bit to digest here. So I'll recap that one again. We do not want the total peak debt to be more than 80% of the value of the peak valuation across both properties. Really, really important. Now, ANZ will let you do this, and so will Athena. They'll let you actually have that peak debt at 85% of the value. ANZ need you to have a contract of sale in place to make this possible. All right, so now we've got our new property. You've moved in, wonderful. You're then in the process of selling your existing property, but you've got this peak debt that you need to service. Now, we've got two options here. Westpac, for example, will let you accrue the interest on the that existing debt and the bridging, and the interest that's accrued until you sell your old home comes off the sale proceeds. So all of a sudden, you're just making repayments on your end debt, that new loan, and any interest that's accrued for the bridging portion comes off the sale proceeds. Or CBA will make you make payments on that peak debt. So the choice of bank here is really, really crucial. Talk to your broker around this. I would not recommend going direct to the bank because they're only going to offer their product. And if they don't even offer bridging, then there's no options there for you. So talk to your broker or we're happy to help. So let's go back to it. You've got your existing home, you've got your new property, you've got your peak debt, which needs to be less than 80% of the value of your peak valuation. Property sells, clear the bridging portion, and you're left with your end debt, and that's the one you make repayments on. Pretty easy, right? Downsides to bridging is you don't know what the sale price is of your home, nor do you know how long it's going to take to sell your property. So try and be really conservative on this or these figures because it's really important. Now, downsizers. All right, this one's really important. I get asked this quite a bit, actually. Anyone looking to downsize, they may not even have a debt on their property, or they have a small loan, but they might be retired. They might not be earning much income. They might be semi-retired, and they cannot afford the loan that is needed to buy their new property. What do? Bridging. Westpac, St. George, and Latrobe do this pretty well. There's probably a few others, but they're the ones I would look at. Latrobe, the costs of fees are so high, so I don't tend to use them. Westpac and St. George do this really, really well. What this looks like, it's called no end debt bridging. No end debt bridging, which means once they've sold their property and cleared any loan, or there might not be a loan, and cleared the bridging portion on the new property, there is no loan at the end. The banks then do not need, or Westpac and St. George and Latrobe, do not need any income verification. All they need to know is the value of your existing property and any debts associated and the value of the new property. Hypothetically, mum, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncle, auntie sell their home for 1.5 million and they're buying a downsized property for $1 million. And there might be a $100,000 debt. So they buy this new home, wonderful. They borrow the bridging of that million plus any stamp duty and other costs. They move into this new home, wonderful. They then go away and sell their old property for 1.5 mil. It clears that $100,000 loan. They're left with 1.4, maybe 1.35 minus agent fees and other costs, and they've just got this 1.1 loan. So that 1.3 pays down the 1.1 to zero, no end debt. It's as simple as that. This is a really, really key one for any real estate agents out there that are listening. If you have any clients, you obviously can't offer any advice, but you can let them know there are products if you are retired or not earning any income, and there will be no end debt. If they need help, send them our way, or if they're already banking with Westpac, then get them to use them, or St. George or Bank SA, all within the same group of banks. So this one is all around bridging. It is fairly complex as it sounds, but once you get into your specific numbers, it's actually quite clear, and we can help you with that. Or if you've got an existing broker, reach out to them and talk to them about bridging. Whew. Big one today. It's so important, especially in a rising market. In a falling market, you may have your bridging loan for 6 to 12 months. Most banks don't let you have a bridging for more than 12 months, so it needs to be sold. So use conservative figures with your real estate agent. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. As always, sound like a broken record. Jump on, 5 stars on Apple or Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, give us any feedback. I've had a couple of really good ones recently. I got told I smile too much. I got told I was an absolute grub. So I've got a bit of yin and yang here, some really great supporters and some haters. Wonderful. Send them my way. Love it all. And to be honest, anyone sending hate comments in here, it's great because it helps with the algorithms. So fire away. Hit me with them. Thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend. We are so close to Christmas. Hopefully all those parents out there that are doing Elf on the Shelf, send me through some of those ideas because my ideas are getting very, very limited. We're nearly there. End of year is close. Thank you again. Have a wonderful weekend and cheers.